So we're back. I just wanted to show you some of the things I've done. I went back in with lighter gray, you can see. So now they kind of sort of look like feathers. The eye, I went back in with a lighter blue over it. And then I went back with the blue, black, there's no black. The blue and the brown mixture to darken up around it. And then I also did some shading using shades of it's white. And then I went back over the white with a mixture of yellow and the gray to give it more texture. So, and when you look at my same palette, same paints, and one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit is the consistency of your paint. When you're dealing with these little tiny liner brushes and you're doing these little details, that it's really, really kind of important to make sure that your paint has the right consistency, okay? So when you look at this paint here, okay, let me see if I can do this without knocking everything over. You want it to be, see, this is the dark paint I was using. You want it to get quite a bit on there. You want it just to the point where it's almost running, but not. See how it looks like it's going to run and drip, but not quite. See if you can kind of look at that. That's how you want it. If you don't have enough paint on that brush, it's not going to work. If you have too much paint, then you end up with a blob. And the nice thing about it is then you can just kind of go in here like this, really light, see? You don't have to do tons and tons of detail work. You can just barely touch it, and it's going to give you that. And you don't want to do one continuous line either. Stop and start, because it's going to look more natural. See? And as far as shading, like on the back side of this bill, same thing. This is where the liner brush, like I told you, you start with a big brush and you get smaller. When you go back in here to do all these details, then you can kind of do this. And his bill needs some more work here because it looks really flat right now. So what I'm going to do is take this kind of round brush, the one that I really like, this, what is it, number 4? This one here. Yeah, the number 4 round. And I'm going to take some red and some pink and some white. And of course, I'm doing this while I'm talking to you with my phone in one hand. And one of these days, I'll set myself up better. But for right now, I'm kind of winging it. So you're just going to have to deal with it. So, okay, see what I've done? Ooh, that is red and yellow and white. And it gives you kind of that peachy color. And so what we're going to do here is add some of that right in here, because he needs more definition on this bill, because this bill comes down like right here, and then definitely comes down right over here. And they have like a yellow tip on that bill, but it's like shades of kind of a rosy pinkish kind of color like this. See? So you're going to take that. Once again, you make sure you have enough paint, but not like dripping off your brush, but enough where it flows nice and smoothly. See? And then you can kind of just do this with it and add some of these lines in here that's going to make it look more like a real bill on a Pelican. If you've ever seen their bills up close and personal, and I have, they're really wide. They're very strong. They're one of the hardest headed birds out there because they can hit the water at such speed and not knock themselves out, basically. It's amazing. And so this is like a rock up here. And so basically, you know, it's a pretty wide piece of equipment, this bill. So you're going to do that. Now you're going to go back with that little brush, the little liner, and you're going to do the same thing, only you're going to take that paint and add more red to it, and maybe just a hair of brown in here. Let's see what I can do. Oh yeah, hold on. And now you're going to get this dark, see? It's like almost like a kind of a ruddy brown color, and it's going to come down here. And basically the under part of this bill is right along here. And you want that to kind of continue all the way down here. See? So now it starts to look a bit more three-dimensional, not as flat, not like something you'd row a boat with. And then you come down here, and the same thing. You want this little weird area down here, and then it kind of comes up here. And I'm looking at these various photographs for reference. So, you know, I've seen a lot of pelicans, okay? So it's not like I have no clue as to what a pelican looks like. But when it comes to all these little teeny beany baby doll details, it's nice to have something right in front of you that you can kind of look at and go, oh yeah, there's that little line there. Because, you know, your memory is only so good. And once again, it's the same kind of thing where you kind of do this number. Now, there's like a section down here on this bill where it's brighter red. It's not like bright red, but it's brighter. So I'm going to go back and add a little more red. And see, just kind of add that right there like that. Boom chakalaka. And now this section down here is actually kind of dark blue. So I'm going to kind of clean some of that off. And I'm going to go back in there with this lovely blue and there it is. Blue and brown mixture. And so you don't get caught up in trying to match color exactly how you think it should look. You're like, oh, he's a brown pelican. So I'm going to get my brown paint and I'm going to paint him brown. No, that's not how it works. Did you know that birds' feathers are actually all brown? And that the ones that look crazy colors, well, not all of them are brown, but there's only two colors. And it has to do with the way feathers are built. If you take a parrot feather with all those bright colors and you beat it with a hammer, it loses all those colors. And the reason why is because the feathers are made up of all these little prisms that reflect the light they reflect those different colors of light. It's crazy. So what you're looking at is maybe really not all those colors you think they are. So when you put all these colors together from a distance or 5 feet away or whatever, now it looks more natural. And that's why if you just take brown and throw it on here, it's going to be boring because in reality, those feathers are reflecting all kinds of light. And the sky is bright blue. So wouldn't it make sense that there would be some light blue in here? And if you look, there is. So I took some of the same blue that I had used in his eye and over in here, and I just kind of, and down here. It's a really good idea to kind of use the same, incorporate that color all over your canvas, and then the whole thing kind of ties together. It's not so much like this rubber stamp where I went, pa-chee, there, oh, there's a pelican, pa-chee, oh, there's the background, pa-chee. No, we don't want that. We want it to look more like, oh, yeah, a pelican sitting on a piling, waiting for his next school of fish to come by. That's what you want. So now his eye. And if you look at the eye, you see how I didn't like the placement of the eye. I had it too far forward, so I did this. I know, it's okay to screw up because you can fix it. And if you look at this picture of the eye up here, you see how it's blue And it has kind of that pinkish around it, and then the black circle. Oh, yeah. And did you know pelicans, as they get older, their heads get lighter too? When the punk young pelicans have kind of a brownish head, and as they get older, they get the white head. So if they're smart enough to live that long, they'll have that white head. So, those are generally the birds that have a little bit more of a brain in there. So what we're going to do is take that little liner brush, this little dude here, and we're going to mix up some of that pink, which is kind of a ruddy pink. It's red, white, and maybe a little bit of brown. And now we're going to do like eyeliner around this guy's eye. You're like, really? Yeah, see, look. See? It's crazy, right? So he has this kind of pinkish around his eyes, like this. And then he has a little bit of a lighter thing right here that does this. See? And he has kind of this doing here, right here, like this a little bit. Because once again, we're going to try and incorporate this same color. And it's okay for the paint not to be super thick and have a little bit of that blue showing through, because they have like a little lines around there. So then what you're going to do is take that dark mixture of the brown and blue, and you want it to be thick enough where it covers, but not like a blob. See? And now you can kind of make sure it's not like total blob. This is important. This is where his pupil's going to be. When it comes to doing animals or people, anything, eyes are super important. I like to leave the eye to the last, because by now I've become real familiar with whatever I'm painting and the brush, the paint, how it's behaving today. And even though I've painted a zillion things, it doesn't mean that it's going to behave the same way every day, because, there's heat, there's humidity, there's water, there's lots of variables. So I've just dropped that on there, and you're like, oh, okay. And then there's eyeliner. If you look at his eye, see the black around it? And what's not on this one? What? There's no black around it, right? So that means I need to take this brush and make some eyeliner. And you want to be really careful that you have just enough. And you're kind of going to go around this eye like this. See? Like that. Boom chakalaka. And if you look at the way the eye, there's a little bit more right here, the corner of the eye. See, it does this. Oh, my dog's hungry. There. It's dinner time for them. There you go. See? See what a difference that makes? There you kind of see it. A light kind of. Now, the thing about that eye, you really want to make it look good, like it's real, is take some white, a little dab of white. You can mix a little yellow in with it if you want. And you're going to do the little part where the light hits that eye. You want enough paint on there where it can cover, but not like this giant blob. Okay, and just barely touch it. See? Wow. See, you can do two like that. And then if you want, kind of join them together. See? That way you're not doing like this big blob and it covers the whole eye. And if you screw up and you put too much on there and he looks like he's got a giant yellow eye, you can go back with your brown blue mix and touch it up. Just let it dry first. It's not the end of the world. That's what's so nice about acrylic paint, is that it's very forgiving. It's not like watercolor. I used to paint watercolor when I was little, and I used to paint with watercolor all the time. And when you grow up using watercolor, it's kind of a good thing, because I want to make this a little lighter up here. I have white and yellow I'm going to add to it. And so when you grow up using that, it's less forgiving. And now all of a sudden you're like, so when you start to use acrylic, you're like, well, this is easy. I can go back and actually fix stuff. And you're like, oh my God, there's like peach in there and there's other colors in there because I didn't clean my brush that well. Oh my God. Well, didn't I just tell you about using your same colors throughout the painting? So this is what I'm doing. I'm kind of incorporating this in this painting so he's not just flat white. You're like, what? Because where that neck curves back down towards his bill, the light is not going to be hitting it as much, right? So it's going to be a darker shade of white. You're like, really? What is that? Yeah, it could be gray. It could be a gray yellow. I mean, the first time I ever started doing anything with white, I remember I got these watercolor pencils and there was like 3 shades of gray in there. I'm like, why would you want 3 shades of gray? That's just kind of dumb. That just doesn't make any sense. Then I started doing this hummingbird, and I realized the hummingbird had a lot of white on its chest, and it was not really white. It was shades of white. So now this one has a little more pink in it than I really wanted, but I'm just going to leave it for right now because I'm going to take a look at it here. And this is what I recommend is you get to a point with and I want some lighter up here, see? So you can take that same brush, same paint, and kind of incorporate it up here where it's going to be lighter because this is where the top of his bill is and the light's going to be hitting it more. And maybe you don't want that big of an outline right there. All you got to do is come back on the back side of it, see? And just kind of paint over it. Boom chakalaka. And now his bill isn't as dark. And it's also starting to look more three-dimensional where the light's hitting it here, the light's hitting it here because their beak kind of goes zoot, zoot, then underneath. It's not just like flat like this. It's flat like this and it's ridged in the middle. This is higher. Then it has this ridge and then he's got this huge pouch down underneath here. So it's kind of hard to tell, but really the line is right in here.